Thorsten. Hi brother. It's good to finally get here to do the reading for you. Before we start, I just want to say that you are absolutely fascinating. You are. What you've said really is fascinating. And the reason that I find it so fascinating, let me just bring up your record here. The reason I find it so fascinating is because where are we? There we go. What you have said actually has some crossover with my own experience. And that's why I find it fascinating. Because I did a channel basically asking who am I and who are my guides and what's my relationship with them. And my guides said that I'm one of them. I'm kind of, I'm in their group. We're like a sort of a bunch of young people from my species who are, and the species itself is very interested in exploration and in science and math, philosophy and so on. And we'd been observing the Earth experience, and then the decision was made in the group that one of us would come down and be in the experience, and then through channeling, forming the group being, they would also experience it in a voyeuristic way. And so the unanimous decision was made that would be me. I would be the one that would come down. But it's always been something which I haven't really quite understood, because I think I'm just not letting myself believe it. And that is that I've wondered, so what happened? Did I died? Did I commit suicide there so that I could be reincarnated here, or how does it work? But what I was getting, which was difficult for me to believe, was that I still have that existence. So I'm in some way in the origin species, I'm in stasis. And in that stasis state, I'm able to bring my consciousness here and incarnate into this form. And then when this incarnation is completed, my consciousness will return and I'll come out of stasis, which is so far out there that I have never, ever, ever said it to anyone in the whole world except to you, Thorsten. You are the first person I've ever said this to. All right, so this is between you and me, okay? So when I'm reading what you're saying, and you said that you are in the middle of the other incarnation. So in the middle of your other incarnation, you've come here to have this incarnation, and then you want to return to that incarnation. I've never heard anyone else say it like that before. And perhaps this is the community that you were talking about, this reality shifting. So this is really intriguing for me. So I'm interested to see what comes through in this channeling. All right, so I've got some notes. I'm already getting lots of information. I'm pretty sure there is someone there who is wanting to speak. I'm assuming that is Melwing. So let's do it and see what comes through. Okay, here we go, brother. Greetings, Thorsten, and welcome, fellow starseed. It is with a sense of family that we greet you here today into this channeling session, because it may surprise you, and we were planning to save this until later in the channeling session, but we are excited to let you know that we literally know you. In our existence as an extraterrestrial race, we have many associates, many that we know inside and outside of our planetary confines, and it is with delight that we say hello to you, our brother, because we know who you are, and you indeed know us. So it is quite fitting, and how is the amazing serendipity of the universe that you find yourself calling to us to channel to you, unwittingly calling upon your very friends to transmit this to you. And we also know Melwing. Melwing is as familiar to us as you are. So we are very happy And it is with excitement that we begin this transmission with our dear friends. So, before we go further, let us just let you know that this is also news for Muzz the channeler. He is completely unaware of this. And we did say in the preliminary before this channeling began, which we do not include in the final cut, when it's just the warm-up conversation we all have with each other, we did say to him then that there would be a surprise in today's channeling, and that's what the surprise is. The origin species in the incarnation which you have left to come here, that version of you is literally a friend of the same version of the channeler. So this is a reunion of a type because we all know each other. So, brother, it is no mistake that Muzz was compelled to call you brother in his email exchange. And you may be interested to know that he has never done that before. He has never called one of his clients brother until he said it to you. And even he wondered why he felt the urge to say that. Well, now it is known. You are indeed someone that we have a thorough knowing of and consider you to be one of our dear and loved friends. So, regarding your questions, let us begin with number one. Why are you still here? Why can't you leave? What is stopping you? Why does your ticket out of here seem to fall apart and it doesn't happen? And we understand the frustration you're feeling in this regard. We can sense the frustration. And also, we know you in your higher density state, and we know what type of being you are. And you are a high achiever. And this is something that we'll get to later on in this channeling session. But first, let's address more specifically these questions that you are beginning with. So, your frustration is, why are you still here? Why is it taking so long to get out of here? And we will say that you have already left. In fact, you have left 3 times. 3 times you have left, and then you have realized that you have left prematurely and you have returned. The first time was during your childhood. There was a time in your childhood that it was either a sickness or an accident where you were quite ill. At that time, you had manifested that departure because you didn't want to be here. You felt uncomfortable, although you didn't have a conscious awareness at that time. But you did leave, and then once you left, you came back, which we will explain soon. And in your adulthood, also 2 times you have left and returned. You, in a timeline, did have the truffles. And from the truffle experience, you did leave. And then when you left, you came back. And this is something that we are going to discuss. Then also the 3rd time, you were in a lucid astral traveling state. And you left, and then you realized it's too soon, and you came back. And each time you come back to a slightly different timeline. You come back to a timeline which allows there to be a uniformity, a congruency, such that there is no apparent disruption that you left and came back. But nonetheless, this is what you did. You left and you came back. Now, let us explain why you keep coming back. You keep coming back because from the higher self aspect, you understand that you still haven't completed the reason that you came here. You still have work yet to do. So, in that more awakened state where you're in the expanded consciousness, and so you're no longer being shrouded by the identity with the mind, and you can have access to this higher understanding. Each time you get out of here, you immediately have the aha moment where you go, oh, that's right, I'm not done yet. And so you return. So, what is it you still haven't done? Why do you keep returning? It's because you came here for, let us say, 3 reasons. The first reason is that you wanted the challenge of finding peace under extraordinary circumstances. As we said, you are a high achiever. And this is why in this incarnation, you are still what would be considered a young man in human terms, yet you are quite successful. And this is because this is the echo of your high density incarnation. You are a high achieving individual. And you are considered to be quite masterful in your ability to go into deep states of meditation, to go into oneself, where you literally separate from the body and then expand into a cosmic state, you could say. And you have become so masterful at that that you are seeking challenge. You are seeking a confrontational experience that is so challenging that you can really determine exactly what your limitations are. How far can you push it? What type of circumstances which are limiting can you overcome and still reach this cosmic awareness state? And so that is the first reason that you chose to come to Earth and be incarnated into the human cycle. So, the reason that you want to leave and even experiencing some degree of frustration that you're still here is because you do not have peace here. You still not have found the peace that you came here to prove that you can do. And being the high achiever that you are, when you leave and you realize that you have left prematurely, mostly because you are being guided by the mind. The identification with the mind is what is motivating you to exit prematurely. So, in that expanded state, you have the, what am I doing? I haven't attained peace. I haven't proven or overcome the challenge for which I came here. And then you return. So, you will not be able to get out of here until you have peace. And you will know you have peace when you no longer want to leave. That's when you know you have peace. When you have reached a state of absolute contentedness and peace and happiness and willingness to live out your days in this incarnation, in this earth human environment. It is not until then that you will, by your own judgment from the higher self or from the high density aspect, believe and consider that you have attained your objective, and therefore allow yourself or complete the transition back into this status state, this incarnation which is in status while you do this exercise. Number 2, the second reason that you have come to be here is because you wish to descend into this state of peace as a human being. And then from that state of peace, you wish to be an energetic beacon for the rest of humanity so that you can help form the harmony, form the resonance which will be the base resonance of all of humanity, when humanity comes together in recognition that they are all aspects of the larger being. So, this is the service which you want to provide. So, this service is very fascinating to you and something which you have a strong desire to do because you know the precursor objective is to come into a place of deep relaxation and peace in this very challenging and limiting environment. So, this is why you chose this particular service. Because you could have incarnated into many other scenarios, many other paradigms, where you could have provided the same energetic service, where you became part of that special group, and then you broadcast a energetic signature which increased the overall harmony of the special being. And there were many opportunities where you could do that, but none of them are as challenging or confronting or markedly different in their context than the Earth human experience. And that is why you chose to be here for this. And you chose to be here for this because you know that you can do it. You fully understand that you have the wherewithal to become the master of peace in this paradigm also. What is doubtful, however, is the mind. The mind does not believe that you can find peace here. And the mind, as Thorsten, is believing that way because usually when humans go through regular incarnation cycles, when they come into the current incarnation cycle, because they have the familiarity of having lived many lives as humans already, there is a degree of modulation, meaning that there is some pre-fit. So, much of the connections of the mind, the connections of the avatar, and the connections of the past incarnations and so on, they fit together in a modular way. And so, much of the work doesn't have to be done because it's already pre-assumed. However, because this is your first human incarnation, you do not have that luxury. And so your mind literally is feeling a sense of incompatibility with your beingness. Your mind feels there is no fit, like it has been mismatched, like for some reason your mind has been attached to the wrong beingness. And so it just doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel organic, something doesn't feel right. The mind is an organic artificial intelligence, but it is still designed on the basis of DNA, of the genetics of your current special group, the Earth human. And so even though it is just an inorganic artificial intelligence, it still has expectation. It still has a degree of, what is the correct word here? Sort of an inherent desire to have this compatibility so that it can function properly. Yet it does not experience that with your current beingness because of this historical perspective of where you have come from, what your origin is. And this is why it wants to leave early. But fortunately, you have the clarity and the wisdom to not try and seek an out through ending the life of the avatar artificially, meaning suicide. So, many young people who suicide are starseeds going through the exact same experience you are, where their mind literally feels an incompatibility with the beingness which is animating it that cannot be reconciled. And so it feels the only way, the only solution is to literally end the connection. And so those beings, those star seeds, in their state of unconsciousness, many of them decide to literally end their lives so that this form of suffering can come to an end. And we use that word very deliberately because it is suffering. We perceive from you that you are suffering in your current state. There is some element of suffrage to it. But there is a reason that you have not chosen suicide. And that reason is you understand it is defeating the purpose of why you came here. But you're rationalizing, from this mind aspect, you're rationalizing that if you make the exit, the separation in some other way, which could be considered to be a spiritual mechanism, then it's justifiable. But it is just a different means to the same end. It's still you trying to escape the responsibility and the objectives that you have given yourself in this incarnation. So, Melwing, he is saying, suck it up, buddy. So, Melwing knows you well. In fact, we all know each other well. And so, he speaks to you as a friend, and he is delighted to have this opportunity to speak to you not as the sort of the distant guide, but literally as your friend that he has known for a long time and looked eye to eye with and had many conversations, many philosophical discussions, and prior to you coming into this incarnation. He also had many discussions with you about this decision. And you had asked him to be the guide, to be the assistant, to help you through this. And so this is why he is here. And this is why he is providing you with so much information. Your question regarding how much of what you say actually makes it, you're asking how much of what your guide says, what Melwing says, is what you say, and how much of it is just your imagination? Well, this is a tricky question because the platform that Melwing uses so he can communicate through you is literally your imagination. That's the only platform he has available to him. So, in one regard, it's all imagination because that is the literal platform, mechanism through which he is able to make contact with you. But we understand that your question is how much of that is literally what Melwing is saying, is how much of it is what you are just saying to yourself. And we would say it's like 80 to 85% of what you are receiving is literally Melwing. But about 15 to 20% is your own rationalization when you don't like what Melwing is saying, which Melwing thinks is hilarious because you have never liked being told that you have something wrong. So, Melwing is not surprised at all. And for him, it has been an amusing experience to provide you information and hearing you say yes, 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 yes. And the moment he says something you don't want to hear, you just say something completely different. Which, for him, is a funny experience. Because he can see in this form you're in now, Thorsten, that you are still his friend. So, now let's backtrack. So we've gone to these two reasons that you're here. The third reason that you're here is that you want to be part of the ascension event. You want to be in the harvest. So, tickets on this ride are not easy to get. This is what Melwing is saying. It wasn't easy for you to be able to coordinate and get the permission to be incarnated into the earth human experience, because there are literally billions, if not trillions, of individual beings that want to be part of this incarnation cycle occurring right now so that they can participate in the ascension. There are so many that are observing what is occurring on this planet right now. And all of them are observing from the outside. And many of them wishing they could observe it from the inside, meaning they could literally be there for the experience. You may have heard of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they can actually time travel to the restaurant at the end of the universe. And they can literally watch the end of the universe from the inside, literally be part of that experience. In a very similar way, there are many beings that are here now, and they have come to the pre-ascension period for humanity so that they can be part of that experience and they can observe it and participate from the inside. This is why you're here, and these tickets are not easy to get. So, Melwing is saying, you went to so much trouble and so much effort to be given permission to be incarnated here at this time. And now you are trying to leave early, which he finds is so funny, because each time that you leave and you go, aha, Melwing is there saying, I told you so. And then you both exchange some conversation, some smiles, some laughs, and then you return. So, this is the 3 reasons you are here. So let us just reiterate. Number 1, you want to find peace in the most challenging of contexts. And that is why you chose to incarnate here. Melwing even said, why choose Earth? It is such a difficult experience. And you know, as I do, there are so many others that have come here and just could not handle the burden and left prematurely. So, why not give yourself an easier challenge? Yet, you are a high achiever and you literally wanted the hardest challenge that you could find. And there is no challenge more difficult than the Earth human context. And that is why you came here. And you wanted to be incarnated into a racial group within the Earth human experience that was in even greater states of limitation than you have incarnated into in Germany. However, you were persuaded not to confront yourself with that degree of challenge, because that is going to be so challenging that it literally may not be possible just through the logistics of attaining food and safety and security to make it to the second objective and then make it to the third objective. So, Melwing says that he would enjoy some appreciation for having the wisdom for debating with you, to persuade you not to bring on that degree of challenge, because Melwing considered that if you do that degree of challenge, then you are increasing the chances that you do not accomplish objective 2 and objective 3. So it was through much debate that he was able to persuade you to choose to be incarnated into the experience, the life that you're in now as Thorsten, in a country of relative wealth and relative security, so that you would have the space and the sort of base level peace and security that you could then move on to objective 2 and to objective 3. So what is ahead of you now is to really start putting some focus on this objective one, and that is finding peace within the earth human experience as the current incarnation Thorsten, which you are enjoying. And let go of this compulsion, desire to escape, because it's not ready. You're not ready to escape yet. It's not time. And if you do leave, all that'll happen is that you will turn around and come back, because you've already done it 3 times. So, you are now starting to become interested in psychedelics, in astral traveling, in lucid dreaming, and this is because you're being directed from the higher self aspect to develop these capacities within self, because you'll be able to utilize these to find peace. However, what is occurring is you are using your mind to rationalize the reason you are being led to these, the reason you're being inspired to investigate these particular modalities is because they are going to be the mechanism by which you get out. But that is not why it is occurring. It is occurring because as you increase your vibration, as you become more awakened to who you are, and you start reconnecting with this high density state from which you came, then you are unlocking. You are now opening the potential for these other latent abilities which are trapped within the human biology. The human biotech is very advanced, and it has capacities way beyond the way that it is currently utilized. So you can enjoy many of the supernatural abilities which you enjoy in this high density state which you have temporarily left to be incarnated here. Many of these are accessible. In fact, in the human biotech, they are all accessible. But of course, what is lacking is the state of consciousness, because many of them are literally not able to be tapped until the state of consciousness is where it needs to be. And that is not going to occur while humanity is still within the 3rd density state. However, if you stay on board this ride, you will transition into the 4th density state, and some of the most wild and amazing abilities will literally become within the paradigm of availability. They will have been released from their latency, unlocked. And this will be another opportunity for you to experience being in those ways while within a earth human form. And this is something which intrigues you. And we're saying it intrigues you from this high density state. Before you became incarnated here, and you were in discussion, in debate with your friends, including Melwing, about your intention. And there was discussion about what is the potential, what is possible. One of the things that fascinated you was this concept of going into a life form where much of your supernatural, what's considered by human terms, supernatural abilities would literally disappear. And you would be a very stunted, colourless, sort of unspectacular life form in a comparative, relative sense. But then, in the same incarnation, go through a massive transformative experience and then emerge from that like the butterfly from the cocoon as a completely different being. And then much of these abilities, not all of them, but many of them, now becoming within your grasp. However, what is very interesting about this paradigm is that instead of being born into a high density form where it is just a given that you can do it, so just as the earth human child is known that eventually will walk. And so when the child walks, this goes, that's nice. Oh, look at that. The child's walking. But it was always expected the child will walk. Well, in the high density form you come from, these abilities of phasing in and out, of being able to manifest things instantly into your hands and so on, these are like walking. And so given time, as the child develops, the child will do these things. And so when the child does, it's the same reception by those around them. Like, oh look, isn't that cute? He's manifesting a ball into his hand. Just as, oh look, he's walking. But in this new earth human paradigm, it is the possibility that when you manifest the ball, you will be one of the very first humans ever in the entire history of the species to do that. And that is something which intrigues you because you are competitive. You are a high achiever. And you want to be in the frontier of human beings in the new paradigm that exhibits these qualities. And you know that you will be well positioned to be among the first, to in a sense, be a pioneer, to be an adventurer on the frontier of what it means to be human because of who you are in this higher density state. This is part of why you're here. So, this desire to get out of here is not coming from that higher awareness state. It is coming from the identification with the mind and the mind's incompatibility, sensing the incongruency with your beingness. But your beingness also, from that side, when it integrates into the avatar and it has access to the artificial intelligence, it also expects there is going to be a very simple integration. And yet in this incarnation, you have not experienced it either. So the mind has not experienced a seamless integration, and the beingness of your higher self has also not felt this seamless integration. And so both of these parts have been butting heads the whole of your current incarnation. This is why you have felt like you don't fit, like you just weren't made for this environment. In fact, you weren't even made for this avatar, this flesh suit that you're wearing. It's like it's the wrong size. Someone got the order wrong. I shouldn't be wearing this. It just isn't right. Somebody made a mistake, so it's time for me to leave. But this is the challenge that you have given yourself to overcome. To feel comfortable in your own skin when that skin is human. This is what you want to achieve. And so, with this new information, what is important for you is to now become the master of peace, the master of contentedness. It is absolutely essential for you to be aligned with your objectives, that you develop the ability to be absolutely in harmony and at peace in any situation that you experience within your life. So, awkwardness is the indicator that you are not there yet. If you experience any awkwardness in your daily activities, if you avoid going into social situations because of awkwardness, if you don't really have anyone in your life because when you're around other people it feels awkward, then this is the feedback information telling you that you are not there yet. You still have not attained the level of peace and contentedness that you are expecting from yourself from this higher density incarnation, this higher density state. So, something that you want to tell yourself from this high density state, just to make it easier for you to deal with this information. Because we understand that this is a shock, because you are hoping that from this transmission you are going to get the inside details, the secrets, the tips, the last bit of advice you needed to put it all together so that you can make your exit. And yet, the information you're receiving is you have much more of this journey yet to come, because you still haven't completed what it was that you came here to complete. So, this extra bit of information is that although this feels like it has been decades, this experience you are having here now, and so it's like, when will it ever end? I've been here long enough. I've done everything. I'm kind of so over this. There is nothing else for me here anymore. Why am I still here? It feels like a long, drawn-out drudgery. Why won't it end? But there is a time dilation effect. So, this many decades you're experiencing here is but a very much shorter period in an experiential sense. In this high density incarnation that you are in stasis in at the moment. So, you may have heard when humans give reports on their experiences with sativa, or with ayahuasca, or with mushrooms, often they will talk about a time dilation. So, they will have the psychedelic experience. And then when they come out of the psychedelic experience, they will sometimes say it was even up to many thousands of years that they were gone. And then they are shocked to discover that it was literally 20 minutes. Yet for them, in this time-dilated state, they lived many, many lifetimes over many thousands of years. This is not something that happened just in their intellect. They literally did live other lives in a time-dilated paradigm. So, the experience of the body that was left behind was just 20 minutes. But the consciousness experienced a much longer period. Well, the exact same thing is happening now. So, from the perspective of your high density incarnation, your high density avatar, the experience has been much, much shorter. And therefore, it is not perceived as something that is taking way too long. And that is why it is without reluctance at all that when you get out of the experience, that you make the decision, oh, what am I doing? And then you go back to the experience. Because from that high density perspective, you are not wasting time. You're not using up the valuable moments of your life, being in a place where you're not meant to be. Because from this, in this high density incarnation, you live extraordinary long lifetimes relative to the human experience. And also, there is a literal time dilation effect in operation here. So, it has only been a few moments from that perspective of this high density being that you are. And that high density being that you are is a more true designation of who you are. And so that is why every time you try to leave, the final decision is made from that high density perspective, rather than from the current lifetime perspective. Because you can see that's the hierarchy of identity in this context, is that this is just a temporary role you're playing, and you've momentarily agreed to forget who you are, so you can have this incarnation and complete these objectives you have given to yourself. But because you are a wise being from a higher density state and you are an overachiever, then you are still finding ways from the context of identifying as the avatar, as Thorsten. you're still finding ways to get out, which is amusing to those around you, because Thorsten always wins. Thorsten always finds a way. And when we say that, what we mean is this higher density being that you are always leading the pack in your studies, in your spirituality, in your capacity to go deep within, to expand, and so on. You are always in the lead group. And so when you are escaping early, it is amusing, because it is you contending with yourself. It is you having to deal with yourself the way that your teachers had to deal with you. Whereas you would surpass your teachers, you would surpass your classmates. And that made you very challenging to have in the room. And so now you are experiencing that from the perspective of the teacher. Because when you are in your consciousness as Thorsten trying to get out, then you are experiencing what that is like, what it has been like for your teachers, when you are placing extra challenge, because you have the capacity to do so. So, for those that know you, it is something which is amusing. There is not much more to add to this. This is something that you have been over and over and over and over and over already. And it is absolutely very deliberate that you have come to this channeler and sought a reading, because you need to hear this in words, because you are not hearing it in a conscious transmission. So, Melwing has been saying this to you over and over and over, and yet, whenever he says something which isn't what you want to hear, you are completely deaf to it. So you have been inspired to make this connection so that Melwing could actually get his words to you. And these words that he is saying to you are literally your words. He is just repeating to you what you have said to him. This is what you want. So, part of this finding peace paradigm in the human form includes actually forming relationships with other humans. We understand that this is something which you don't have a comfort level with, and it's something that you probably are wincing to hear, that this is a necessary part of the ingredients. The reason that it is part of the ingredients is not because it is a requirement, but instead because it will facilitate the success of your objectives. You will be able to fall into a resonance with the spiritual group and the planetary body and the solar system being, so that you are fully harmonized with these expanded definitions of self, and you can attain the absolute peace that you seek if you allow yourself to be integrated into the humanity being first. This means that you form some form of bonding, of relationship, of mutual feeling with other aspects of the humanity being. And this does not include your mother in this incarnation. You don't have to do it the way that we're suggesting, but you will do it more effectively and you will find peace sooner if you do make the effort to connect with other humans. And what is very compelling about this idea is that there are many starseeds who are going through the same challenges that you are, and that are also faced with these insurmountable feelings where they just do not want to be here, they just do not fit in, that they are always going to be awkward, they are never going to have meaningful relationships. It's very unlikely they'll ever find a partner that will love them forever, and so on. They are also going through these experiences. And because you have had the insight to make this connection with the channeler, and so that you can receive this information from your higher density soul group, which includes Melwing, then you are now in possession of very valuable information, of a liberating perspective, which could be shared with others who find themselves in the same predicament you find yourself. And you could bond with them and also provide guidance, provide a service which will incite in them a sense of recognition that the two of you, or the three of you, or the four of you, however large the group is, are all very similar in a fundamental way. And this similarity, this recognition that you are sharing a journey, will give rise to feelings of a greater depth, of trust, of meaningful friendship, of a type of love. And from this, you will have expanded your energetic footprint from the perspective of how you fit into the greater spatial being. And this expanded energetic presence means that you are less subject to the turbulence and the chaos of the human experience. So from an engineering perspective, you now have a much wider base because you've expanded your energy by connecting, including more and more humans into your friend group. So you begin to utilize their energy as your own, and they begin to utilize your energy as their own. And this gives each of you stability. And this is why once humanity is doing that as an entire special group, humanity will be very, very stable. Because the base, from an engineering perspective, will be so wide, it will be imperturbable. It will not be able to knock it off balance. But this requires that you have a reliance and an acceptance and a trust and a willingness to connect to other aspects of this special group, meaning friends, having relationships with other human beings. And this is going to facilitate you achieving your objectives and finding your place of peace and contentedness much sooner. And so then these feelings of frustration, of incompatibility with your life experience will disappear, and you will be very happy to be here, perfectly at peace about the circumstances of your life. So, if you have the opportunity to access psychedelics, we would suggest that this could be a good thing to try. And when you go into it, it's important that you go into it with the mindset that you're not consuming it so that you can escape. Because if you escape, you are just going to 180 and come back. You've already been down that road 3 times. So, Mel Wing is saying, if you do it a 4th time, it will begin to become embarrassing. But he's laughing, it's just a joke. So, using the psychedelics, if you have the psychedelic truffles, then use that opportunity to connect with Mel Wing. And the rest of your soul group will be there. And draw from them a sense of understanding about why you are here. And allow them to imbue you with a peacefulness which is very much part of their natural state. And when they imbue you with this peacefulness, this will create a resonance within yourself. And so you will start to resonate within yourself in peace, your own peacefulness. Because this is literally what you are. You are an individuation of the One. And the One is light. Meaning, it is the spectrum of the lightness end of the spiritual spectrum, when considered from the energetic context. So, in the lexicon of human language, it is gratitude, peace, happiness, joy, bliss, love. So you literally are those energies. And so the peace potential is within you. And all needs to happen is to access it, and it can become your predominant state. And in a state of predominant peace, then it becomes very easy to be content and relax into the scenario in which you find yourself. And so in the psychedelic state, speak to your guides and your soul group and ask them to harmonize with you in peace, to share with you their peace, to flood it over you so that you can recognize the vibration and then form the resonance within, and then bring that very prominently into your own energetic beingness. So, it has been very enjoyable for us to be here with you and to have this conversation with you, because for us it is very much like catching up with old friends. So it has been some time since we encountered each other. And only because you with your group have been doing the things that you find interesting, and we with our group have been doing the things that we find interesting. And there will come a time in the future where we are in each other's vicinity much more again. But your group and our group are still, from the perspective of our special group, young. And it is very typical that for our age group, which is still many hundreds of years old, that time is utilized for exploration, is utilized for discovery, is utilized for curiosity, and so on. And so each of us can go in our own different ways in different areas in the available cosmos to see what's there. What can we discover? What interests us? But then in the later part of our lives, when we have reached a state of satisfaction, that our urge to be curious has been satisfied in the most part, because it is very closely linked to youth. The youth are inquisitive. As you will see in the Earth Human experience, young people, especially children, always want to see what's that, what's this, putting their fingers in holes and so on. It is the same across all species, across all of existence. Curiosity is predominantly more so in the young. But what is important to recognize is that for some species, young spans many hundreds and even thousands of years. So, once this phase of youth has come to a changing of chapter, then much of the roles and responsibilities of the operation of our societies will fall to us. Not meaning that we will be burdened with them, but as we will just make the choice that this is what we now want to do, because it's very natural and innate. It's an organic desire that we will reach a certain age, and then our interest is, I want to do something at home. I want to serve to my community directly. I want my species to be a direct beneficiary of my love and energy. And so we find ourselves in those types of roles, which means that we will be more planetary bound. We will be less about gallivanting off into the cosmos and more about community. And so when all of us reach that stage, we will encounter each other more. And by then, you will have fulfilled your objectives, because it's not very much time from the perspective of your higher density self, because there is this time dilation. So what will actually happen is you will complete your 3 objectives when you are still youthful, and you will have many, from the earth human definition, many hundreds of years more of your youth left to live out. But you will have the very unique experiential understanding of what it means to pass from a dichotomous state to a state of unity, to pass through the ascension between these two markedly different states from the inside as an earth human, a very rare and difficult ticket to possess. So, utilize it and realize how blessed you are to be here. Because when you leave, as you have done 3 times already, you go, what am I doing? This is a dream experience. There are so many that would gladly take my place. And this is why you come back. One final thing we will say. It is possible to leave and someone else to come in while you are still, without an end coming to the avatar. So you can walk out and someone can walk in. This is possible. When this occurs, the mind and the personality, to a large degree, remain intact. So, unless the walk-in is fully conscious of how these mechanisms work and are in a state of profound wakefulness, they will not even realize that they just walked in, and that they are now living the second half of a life which was lived by someone else in the first half. They will not realize. As far as they're concerned, they are the same being that has been congruently living every day since birth. So this is a possibility. But we do not say this to you to suggest a vehicle to get out of here. We are only saying it just in full disclosure of how the mechanism works. But you have already tried this. You have already tried to walk out. And yet you turn around and you come back. When you did the truffle experience, you literally wanted to walk out. And when you walked out, there were many who were willing to walk in. But because it is a free will paradigm, because it is about respect, because it is about agreement, no one steps in until you give them permission to step in. Yet when you stepped out, you went, uh-oh, what am I doing? What am I thinking? And you turned back and went back into this incarnation in a slightly shifted reality. And this is another reason why you are fascinated by this idea of shifting realities. You think you are fascinated because it is through this shifting reality concept that you can escape. But it's not. You are fascinated by it because you have literally already done it 3 times. 3 times. You have shifted reality. And the shift has always been so that you can maintain your existence as Thorsten. How is that for unexpected? That is how you used it. Not to escape, as you assume it is, but instead literally so you can come back and continue as the being which from the mind perspective you believe you want to escape. So, you are unique. Even in your high density incarnation, you are a unique being because you are a high achiever. But really, when we say that you're a high achiever, it is not necessarily because you try harder than everybody else, but instead it is because you are more capable than everybody else. You are among the best of us all. And we would like to see you, as you would, utilize those gifts and talents in this incarnation, which means you must stay here for that to happen. So, we shall finish there. And let us say, please don't harm the messenger, because we are only bringing you your own message and the message of those that love you most. Thank you, Thorsten. It has been our pleasure to connect with you again. May you have much peace and success in the achievement of the objectives which you have laid before you. And we look forward to the time when we can reunite as our origin species and discuss and pontificate about the philosophies of the experience which was had. Thank you, and we love you.